Well, if we look at examples from each work of literature to justify the way we make the author's talk, we can see in Fugard's Master Howell and the Boys, since the stage directions of the play, since he stated the characters, we see two black employees and a 17-year-old white boy, high school student, that his parents own a tea room, and St. George Park tea room, the same tea room where Fugard been in Port Elizabeth during his youth. So since these stage directions, we can see the life of Fugard. There are other examples during the novel. In this quote, Halley says about the boarding house that his mother run, and 16 rooms with board and lodging, and there the black employees Salmon and Wally and Willie Sam and Willie lived. I forgot his name. And how the relationship between them and Haley, hiding away in our room when your mother was looking for you, how this relationship was really strong. It wasn't just pals. They were friends. And, well, Sam was almost like a father to Haley. And also the interest in Haley to write and to experience the things and to write about that, and how the way he remembered all the boarding house, it seems that Fugard is actually really close to that memory, that it wasn't just something that happened in the past, that he actually has a great deal of importance.
Well, in the case of El Saadawi, she's a really radical feminist, which is really not common in Egypt. But she says that unlike most authors, age actually makes her angrier. So I think it is really important to highlight that even though when she wrote the novel in 1975, she already had these revolutionary ideas in her mind, but she's now even more radical than when she wrote Woman at Point Zero. So I think it is hard to be, well, more radical than that. But she has had so many experiences that she has been able to really create an ideology of her own in order to make the Islamic feminism possible. Well, in the conversation as well as in the preface of the book, she says that she has always been attracted by the idea of prison because prominent intellectuals in her country used to be in jail for political offenses. But when she knew that there was a woman who was in jail because she had killed a man, she was even more thrilled. That special characteristic of a female murderer was really inviting for her. So she set that case apart from her research because she was doing a medical research. But Firdaus was much more than just a case. She was someone to be known by the world. She says that she developed a feeling of admiration for Firdaus because she seemed so exceptional in the world of women to which I was accustomed. So again, when she put Firdaus down on ink and gave her life, she finally was able to express Firdaus' story and not just keep it for herself as a research study. So it was important for her to free that story, and because she wanted people to know that need to challenge and overcome the forces that deprive human beings of their right to live, to love, and to real freedom. So for her, Firdaus was the need to challenge. Mm, well, again, and these quotes um, portray El Saadawi's admiration for Firdaus and how she was really, really impacted by her case. Just, well, in such a way that she was questioned about all her life. She says that she felt ashamed of her life. It, it was really, a really strong case for her. So, yeah. It's good.
Yeah, well, here are some quotes directly from the book that justify the way that Adiga spoke right now. Yeah. First, we have the poor dream all their lives of getting enough to eat and look like the rich, and what does the rich dream of? Losing weight and looking like the poor. Well, here is this duality of the masters and servant, the rich and the poor, the ones that the poor wants to become like the rich because these people are being rich according to the social, and they are trapped like in the rooster club, like the metaphor we saw. Yeah. As I said a little ago, the Adiga wanted to answer the question, why does India is so secure? Like, there are almost no kidnaps, there are almost no people stealing.
Is that the case? Is that for real?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
And yeah, this is because of the servants that are the trustworthy, that doesn't steal from the masters. This is an exception in the Balaram's case to this another again an experiment, something different from what happens. Well, here we have an statement that is proof of corruption. It's amazing the moment you serve the cash, everyone knows your language. Yeah. If you have money and you know how to use it by corruption, you can have the power you want. And the moment you recognize what is beautiful in the world, you stop being a slave. Again, the theme of social mobility, this main character that changed from being a sweet maker, a housewife, to being a master and owning his company. Yeah, but isn't it like okay? Again, referring to the case of Bahram that he kills his master, he said it was not necessary to be killing people, but in his case, it was necessary to change his 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 status. Next. Wait, no. Here we have the quote about where it explained the rooster cup analogy. People are compared to roosters that they don't go out of the cup, even though they know that it's really bad. Well, and they also quote, free people don't know the value of freedom, that's the problem. Here's another explanation of why these people, like in analogy the roosters, don't want to get out to change their social and economical status and conditions. Well, these are some personal statements from Adiga. For example, he complains about corruption. Like most people who live in India, I complain about corruption, but now that I can live with corrupt men, it's the honest ones that I secretly worry about. Yeah, he's against corruption. just like Barram, he has learned how to live in a corrupt world, and well, he's still like a good person who wants to, who knows that corruption is bad. Well, here we have a claim about his difference from Balaram's background. Adiga said he has grown up in a privileged upper caste Indo community, and because of his father worked for a Catholic hospital, they lived in a prosperous Christian neighborhood. But this is completely different to the town where Balaram was born. They were really poor, and all the family was living there in a very low way of life. He said when he was living when he wrote the White Tiger, he was living actually in a building such as the Balaram, in which Balaram and Mr. Ashok lived. So he kind of based in some of those characters he was living with. Yeah. And at a time when India is going through great changes and with China is likely to inherit the world from the West, it's important that writers like me try to highlight the brutal injustice of society. Here he's giving himself the importance he has into his work. This like we've talked that the society can change, that some things are bad, and well, it must be different.
I think the last point is what they all sort of all have in common.
Yeah.
The three authors.
Yeah, and well, the question was, do you think it is more effective when authors use their personal experiences in the writings? Because throughout the whole presentation, I think the important highlights are that Fugard had a personal story through which he protested against a social cause. El Saadawi was an external and non-fictional story with added meaning, which was also intended to protest against her environment. And Adiga has a fictional story, again, to protest against, well, the injustices of the system. So I wanted to know how important you think it is that Fugard did live that story, or that El Saadawi heard it firsthand, or that Adiga just invented it, but they three of them really had an impact and a revolutionary intention. So I don't know if it would be more impactante, more, it would have a stronger impact in the reader to know that he lived it, she heard it, or that he invented it. So I would like to know what you think about that. Yeah.
I think it depends exactly on the story, because Adiga has more space for imagination and for for imagination, so he can create a story that better emphasizes what he's trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So he can create a better story to exemplify what his meaning is, or what he wants to transmit to the readers. And meanwhile, Fugard has, if he wants to be as personal as he wants it to be, he doesn't have that freedom, that imaginative freedom, but he may have an easier time explaining or trying to convey what he's trying to say, because he has experienced it. So I think it depends on what the story is and how easy it is for the author to transmit it to the readers.
Well, I think that in this, when the writings touch these topics, that and the message is kind of revolutionary, like this is wrong, this should change, and it's very subversive. the personal experiences are very handy because they're completely aware of the context. You can say that okay, being servants or slaves are wrong, but if you don't live, if you don't experience that context, you cannot make a compelling story and a compelling story with total knowledge of the context will justify your message that you do have the basis to give your message. So I think, especially in these kind of topics like power and oppressive societies, it's very important the personal experiences, and the writings are benefit because of that.
Okay. Well, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.